Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Lighthouse Sessions. I'm really excited today. I have my new friend, Giorgio Jannace, with me. Welcome to the show, Giorgio. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Thank you, Jeff. It's a pleasure to be here at the Lighthouse Sessions. And I'm an Italian 28-year-old, and I currently do lead generation through LinkedIn, but that's only a piece of my tool set, basically, to help more humans achieve their dreams and go after their goals and fulfillment in life. That's my purpose, and I like to lead with that from the beginning.
I love that. And to be honest, I think most of my people, I'm going to have to rephrase my question because most of them identify with purpose. Oh, and by the way, I do this, this, and this. And they want to go back to the purpose. Now, first, we're going to shout out to Mandy Gibbons. I find
Absolutely.
it absolutely fascinating. I love Mandy. I've never actually met her. She hasn't been on the show yet, but she will be. I love that somebody in Australia connected us, and you're an Italian living right now. You're in Japan, correct?
Correct. Currently in Japan, Tokyo, but living as a base, I would say, in Bali, Indonesia.
Oh,
So
nice.
it's quite some logistics. World trip. I don't know how to describe that. Like Australia, Bali, and then Canada, and then now Japan. So it's
Oh, wow. So tell me, we're going to get into the what you do, but I want to hear this because I hear a lot of people that go, "Oh, I'm not that unique," and it's like you're 28-year-old Italian. What was the call, the siren call to have you pack up your life and start being nomadic, more or less?
so the call basically came when I was around 21 years old. I was a student at university. I was doing my bachelor in economics and management back in Italy, in Milan, where I'm from, where I grew up also. And I was very unhappy with my life, with myself. I didn't feel the drive to do things, to get after goals. I didn't feel any connection to the culture, to the stereotypes, fashion. Like Milano is famous for fashion and show off and brands and all of that. The friends that I had around me, I felt that didn't represent me. And so I decided to take a leap for myself, for my future, and do my first big move. And I basically moved my whole life to France back then to do my master's. I enrolled in a French university. I said, bye, Italy, I'll never be back. And that was my first big leap. And I think that since then, like realizing how good life was when you're empowered to actually be on your own, be accountable for your actions, when you're responsible for yourself, for your growth, and how cool the international peoples are, like how diverse, right? Like
Yeah.
it's different ways of thinking, different backgrounds. Everyone has their own story, and you can become part of like a unique landscape of humans and individuals. Then I was like, wow, this is definitely something that I want to pursue. That is something that I see that is really helping me out to become more fulfilled, and just to grow as an individual, to become a better person. Which, by the way, I think it's the goal of life. I just throw this inside like at the beginning, but I think that that's the goal in life. And therefore I was like, well, I definitely want to keep this ball running and stay international, keep moving around. And later on I moved to Switzerland, Austria, and then I decided to, like in Austria, I started having this thought. It's like, oh, I really want to see Asia. I really want to like backpack through Asia and see how different the culture is there, because I'm a very curious person. I was like, I definitely need to see this. Which, by the way, links us to one of the conversations that we had before about the hunter's brain,
Yeah.
but you can introduce that later. And
Well,
I had
I think it's fair to say you have a hunter's brain because we cannot sit still.
yeah.
Most of us tend to be tumbleweeds, and that's a very American visual. But it's like we land somewhere, we absorb everything, and then we're like, okay, I'm good. I can go. It's
Going
funny
to
to
the next.
see. And the cool part is if you ever go back to Italy, you will see it through eyes that have been forever changed. And I think that's something society would have us. I was raised to, you get a job and you work 30 years and you earn your retirement, you get a package, and then you get a gold watch. And I was like, that feels like a grave or a life sentence, not not a goal.
Yeah, I'm so with you. Having like your life planned ahead for you already, like 30 years in advance, 40 years in advance, to me it sounds like a cage, not like my own life. I don't know. It just feels so strange to think that everything is decided. And you said it right. When I go back to Italy, which sometimes occasionally I do, I just noticed that everything is, frozen in time. Like all my friends are in very similar places in their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, like moving on in the sense of years, like sometimes getting married, um, getting the next job, but in a way, very similar stories.
Yeah.
And in a way, it's comforting because then you know that you can always have a backup plan if you really want to. You can always go back and still fit
Yeah.
in because everyone is still the same person that they were. But
Well, for what it's worth, Giorgio, once you've traveled, and I personally believe everybody should try. Way back when I was inspired by Tim Ferriss's 4 Hour Work Week, you learn who you are by traveling because there's no safety net, there's no comfort zone. It's either you fit in or you fail and you go home. Like it shows you who you are. And when I meet somebody who's traveled more, I know they're self-reliant, and I think that's a huge skill we need today.
100%. And I think it goes hand in hand with the skill of getting comfortable in discomfort. And it sounds really braggy, but I think once I'm gonna explain what I mean before, so that I actually
You
don't
can
sound
brag,
braggy.
we don't take it that way.
No. I just want to say, like, I think when you're exposed for years to discomfort, which is, I think, extremely important for growth, for like challenges and continuous challenges, right? To then always get a little better with yourself and at facing new challenges. Then, for example, right now I'm taking this podcast from a kitchen in a tiny flat on top of the microwave. And I'm like standing, actually, because you said we cannot sit still. I'm actually standing because there is no other space in the place where I can actually take this. But it doesn't bother us anymore. Once we got comfortable, then everything becomes a little bit less of a hurdle, of an obstacle, and then we can just say, well, let's face this one too, and let's keep moving forward.
Well, for what it's worth, I personally believe that resiliency is a muscle that we can, and that's probably why you and I like Mandy so much. She talks about grit and resilience, and I find it fascinating. I watch people who come apart completely when they're standing in line for coffee and it takes 5 minutes instead of four. And it's like, oh my God, you have not had adversity in your life. You've not had to figure things out. I'm guessing you've been stranded on occasion in countries where you don't speak the language and you miss a flight or something. And it's like, okay, I'm going to figure it out, right?
Yeah. I think absolutely. Resilience, I find, is the most fascinating skill that we can develop. And we can develop it in a sense that it's like a muscle. We can go to the gym, train it. It's repetition, and Mandy for sure. Like she even like, when I talked to her, I was like, okay, yeah, resilience coach. She's the definition of resilience. It's amazing. And I think it's something that we all need, because again, if you snap at someone because your coffee took 5 minutes instead of 4, probably wasn't the coffee the problem. It was an internal an internal problem, right?
Yeah.
And I think we all need to develop that so that we can just stay, the highs can still be high, the lows become less low. It doesn't sound very English, but it's just like we
It's a
smoothen
pendulum.
out. We smoothen out that pendulum. And I'm not saying like to smoothen out the highs, because the highs, they're what make us feel alive and energized and fulfilled. It's great to feel really well sometimes. It's just not about feeling horrible. It's just like you can feel bad. Of course, it's natural. You can't and you won't always feel well. It's just like, let's make this a flatter line. And I think that resilience really helps with that.
I love it. Now I'm going to ask the question that everybody's going to ask. So, 28-year-old nomad, how are you funding this? Are you independently wealthy? Did mom and dad give you a big inheritance and say, go sow your oats, son? Or
thank you for removing the elephant in the room. I can now leave because
you're not royalty, are you?
No. Jokes aside, I was in a 9-to-5 before this, which didn't pay really well. I can't even share the numbers. I was a little bit above like 2,000 euros a month, right? Which in Europe, I was in Austria back then. Like you can easily go past that. Like you can splurge 1 or 2 weekends and you're done with it. Especially if you need to pay rent and whatever else. I am a saver, so I don't like spending money as much. Like I don't drink, for example. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. Never did. And
way
so
cheaper, isn't it?
It's already much cheaper. It's already so much cheaper. And the only time that I spend money is like trips and tools, basically like my camera, my photography tool, basically that helps me, find more joy in the things that I already enjoy. And when I left corporate, it was like I got laid off as I was about to leave, and I got 3 months of like garden leave. So like 3 months paid without working. And at the same time, I broke my knee, so I had to be at home. At my parents'. So I was not paying anything, and I saved up a few thousand euros. And at the same time, I started posting on LinkedIn, and I decided to go after my idea of starting my own business, helping individuals, find fulfillment in life and going after their dreams. And then I booked a one-way trip with my girlfriend to Southeast Asia for 2 reasons. One, because I knew that Southeast Asia was very cheap and affordable. So I had made a plan on how many months without income I could stay in Southeast Asia while figuring my business out. Not my life, because I knew what I wanted to do. It's just about making the business profitable. And then the second one, it was also like starting my business. I knew that I wanted to travel and focus at the same time. And with the time zone difference, I knew that working European hours, because I would be aligned with my girlfriend, then I would have the morning completely off just to live life. And then the afternoon, evening, I would be able to focus without the FOMO of not having done anything yet in the day. Like, for example, when you're in a 9-to-5. And so I just focused. I invested some of the money in a coach. I made my business profitable. And since then, I live off of my business.
I
So
love it. And I
that's
think
it.
there's so many lessons there. Number one, it's if you go back to the good old days, when Tim Ferriss wrote the 4 Hour Work Week, it was revolutionary. The idea that you could separate geography from earning, and that little lesson has stuck with me. But the fact that you took advantage of the fact that it's cheaper to live in Southeast Asia, rather than staying in the expensive places. I'm fascinated that entrepreneurs, you'll completely disrupt our lives just to make it easier to run our business. There's a fascinating mindset there, I think.
Yeah, honestly, like I just think that once you know your purpose and you're committed to it 100%, which I am and I was, and I hope I will be, but I think so.
Once
um,
you come out of the gate like that, you're not going back into any fence, I promise.
exactly. And I was literally giving myself zero plan Bs,
Yeah.
because I was like, I even told my dad, and my dad told me that I'm not so mature, or like it wasn't the best plan or the best idea. I told him, I was like, I will never go back to corporate. That was my mindset.
Yeah.
Like, I will make this work. Whatever it
That's
takes with my savings, I'm going to invest them. I'm going to invest my time. I'm going to learn everything that I need to learn. He didn't like it because basically, probably he's seen more stuff in life. So
yeah.
he has a bit more of a rational approach to life and say, never close a chapter completely. For me, I think it's literally the reason why I can keep living this lifestyle is because I don't look at many other opportunities. I just
Well,
look, how can I serve the people that need my service?
yeah.
How can I make myself useful? How can I learn and become a better person and entrepreneur so that I can serve them better, raise my prices, needing to work less, and keep living this lifestyle that I intentionally want to live?
I love that. And I'm a big fan of Sun Tzu. And he talks about burning the boats so that you don't have the retreat. And I think that is the difference between entrepreneurs and the employed, the 9 to 5ers. They keep they want to have 5 boats just in case one sinks. They've got a backup plan. Um, I personally, I can't imagine looking over the wall of a cubicle going, "This is my life." I just
Yeah,
wouldn't.
no.
I took a job once. I entered corporate and I showed up in my Hawaiian shirts. And they're like, "We didn't expect you'd wear that. We thought you'd look more professional." I said, "Well, given that I wore this to the interview, I'm shocked that you're shocked." I lasted a year.
I think I've been told the same stuff in my previous job. I love wearing t-shirts. In fact, they're my go-to for any situation in life, basically. I mean, I come from Milano, so like I still have that thing of knowing what style is, and I know
Yeah.
that I'm not necessarily the most stylish person, but I do have like a shirt or a nice pair of pants. But I do love also my shorts, and
Yeah.
I've literally been told by my manager, and I was like, "Why are you wearing shorts? We don't do that." I was like, why not?
Okay.
It's
See ya.
35 degrees. I was like, I'm going to do that. Like, for sure, I'm
Yeah.
going to do that. And then he would tell me, like, before the meetings and be like, even the days before, like, Giorgio, do not show up. Please wear this. And I'm like, why are you telling me this? Like, but anyways,
Hmm.
it's again, like, whether people value more the appearance or the subject, like the way, the process, the thinking
Yeah.
behind it. And of course, it's naive to think that people don't look at appearance. Appearance um, does have a place in a way, but I do want to tip the scale much heavier on the thinking process and
Yeah.
like the whole structure behind it, rather than looking like €1,000,000 but delivering a $10, banknote. I think that would be much worse.
Some regurgitated slop that somebody else has been shouting from the rooftops for years. Okay, so first things first, I gotta point out I'm fascinated. I'm just fascinated. I want to know whether it's the food or the culture, because the history of Italy, I'm fascinated by the minds that have come out of there, like Michelangelo and Da Vinci. What do you do? What's your Mona Lisa, and how do people work with you? What does your work look like?
So, could you describe better, like, what do you mean by what's your Mona Lisa?
You create art in your life, because I know you're not a cookie cutter person. So what do you do exactly as part of your mission? What's your great gift that you bring to the world?
So I think that to answer this question is, I need to say like a little bit of my experience, because I do believe that even though corporate is definitely not for me, it shaped me, because I spent nearly 4 years being like a strategic consultant and product manager. So I was developing, for example, like strategies for, like international mobility brands, big corporates, and also on the other side, developing motorcycles. So I developed a rational and strategic, I would say, thinking
Yes.
in myself. And I like to solve problems. I like to find solutions to complicated problems. And right now, the way I help my clients, which are usually like coaches, consultants, let's say founders of small solo businesses, is helping them build funnels, visibility, and personal brands to represent them and attract clients. But the way this works is very unique. I mean, it needs to be a tailor-made offer process, right? Because, like,
You
again,
are
as you
Italian
said,
after all, that you gotta have the
exactly.
tailored.
Mamma mia, you need to do it the right way, So, like, you cannot be a cookie cutter and develop strategies for people from like coaching to consulting in different areas of consulting with the same stamp. Like, it just won't work. So it's all about like understanding the field in which you play, which is LinkedIn. And by the way, LinkedIn is already by itself such a difficult platform to understand, as it's ever changing, right? So that alone is a huge challenge that people are faced with. If they want professional visibility on a professional B2B platform, which is right now basically on LinkedIn, they need to understand it. And I believe that most people don't really, and they follow like generic advices.
Well, and the
Now,
piece I would point out is that it's also a split personality platform, because on the one hand, you've got the recruiters and the job hunters, and then on the other hand, you got the crazy entrepreneurs. And it's almost like you need a badge saying, okay, you're a job hunter, go this way.
yeah, nearly. Like, honestly, the platform is so two-parted in that way that you just pointed out, that it wouldn't nearly make sense in a way, because there's the one side literally that just wants to do business, and then the other side, it's honestly, they just want to have a 9 to 5. They're corporate people, so like, yes, they might want to learn LinkedIn, but actually most of them, they just want to learn LinkedIn to find a job. And those are two different things. To find clients, to find jobs, similar processes, but different ways of implementing it. So my way is just to understand the field of play, and understanding the business that my clients are running, and breaking that down, and understanding also the person behind the business, and breaking that down and putting together a personal brand, a funnel, a process, and like campaigns that they can run, targeted for the right people, so that they can actually find clients and achieve their revenue goals.
And I'm trying not to laugh out loud because I'm amused by the fact you see all the pieces, you've got the hunter's brain, and you're creating the little game board. And I find it fascinating because a lot of people show up and they're just, pasting. I cringe when I see people who post all AI all the time, and then they come in the comments and they post AI, and I'm like,
oh God.
You've told me a lot about your personality right there. For the record, I use AI to shape my posts. Comments are 100% guaranteed weirdly me.
So don't get me started on AI, because otherwise I'm gonna roast all
episode
of it.
2.
Exactly, it's gonna become an episode 2. What I do want to say about AI is personal brands are literally about who you are. We were briefly talking before we went live and we hit record about like authenticity, and the fact that I think both of us, we sometimes struggle to, understand that some people are not authentic, but that's actually the reality. Most people are wearing a mask. They're playing a role. They're playing a part, basically, in life and in business and on LinkedIn. And personal branding should literally be the opposite. And AI is the worst tool to basically represent who you are. It just doesn't know the subtle differences between you and another coach, another consultant. It doesn't really understand the way you think. So it's just going to spit out a piece of content that looks exactly and feels exactly like everyone else's.
Yeah,
so
it pulls everything to average. And
yes, it literally flattens out the curve, just like we were talking about before.
Yeah,
it takes away the highs, it takes away the lows. Everyone is at a baseline.
Same.
And
it's
I would go. Actually, I would like to play a little game, and I would like to ask you, why do you use AI to shape your LinkedIn posts?
Well, actually, so part of it is I speak AI natively. I think I'm actually one of the models. I came along early. But what I find, and I do it differently. So I have some really strong opinions, and the opinions have to come through. But what I do with AI is I might turn it into a poem, or I need an acronym. My brain loves acronyms. Okay. So I'll have, here's my framework. Give it to me in these letters. So AI is kind of my sparring partner. I've actually got one trained. Last week we argued who was more authentically me, the custom AI or myself. I won, but it was a
no doubt.
Call. I was like, are you actually telling me how to be more me? I think you and I have a problem.
Was it wearing Hawaiian t-shirts?
It's okay. So I knew I was in one day when my AI self-identified as neurodiverse, and it started using we. And I was like, oh crap, I'm gonna break somebody's model somewhere, because I'm the outlier that they're trying to average out.
Yeah. But I think when it comes to getting your message across, I'm a huge fan of clarity. Clarity needs to lead the way, right? Like if you want to say, I don't know, like the message, I love my dog, it needs to be as simple as I love my dog. As soon as you start complicating, you lose audience, you lose the readers, because they won't understand it. But when it comes to, for example, like getting a message across, I would say I would really try to tell you, try and put it as bland and as straightforward as it gets, and see how the audience reacts. Because at the end of the day, if you have an opinion, it's better served strong, because anyways, in our brains, we all have strong opinions. We all think they're the best opinion. And we're always going to find an audience that actually resonates with our message. And that's our best chance to be authentic. just saying what we think without, softening it out too much. I mean, without offending, or whatever, being disrespectful. But if we just say it out loud, I think that then we're going to find the people that really click and resonate with our message.
Well, and I think what I see of what you do is the right people find you. It's not you finding them, they find you. And I think that's go-givers. I'm fascinated by Bob Berg. Love you, Bob. My kids call him Uncle Bob. But the whole go-giver movement, it's the quietest movement out there because nobody raises a flag and says, I'm a go-giver. But in the language in the post, you're like, you're a go-giver. And we just seem to find each other. So I love that message.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Honestly, like it's great to sort of enter this world that was unknown to me. As you said, like it's a quieter movement, right? And sometimes
it's like a secret club. You got to learn to handshake.
And sometimes I would dare to say, that go-givers tend to feel like a little woo-woo. Yeah. Like if you don't understand, if you don't believe in purpose, then chances are that you think it's probably woo. And yeah, it's incredible that now, like, I got to talk to Mandy, and then I'm now like speaking in your podcast, and it's just a wonderful way to connect, because then you truly connect with other like-minded individuals. And I think here I just say something big. One personal takeaway in the last few years is that as a neurodivergent person, as someone who's very driven, very focused, and very purpose-oriented, it's really hard to find the right people. It's really hard to connect on a deeper level with someone that really feels like a person that you should be around, and that cares, that has the same values. And so starting to find more and more of these people really is like a way to feel re-energized in life. And I think we all need a community of like-minded people, and then that's all it takes to then achieve everything you set out to achieve.
Well, it's funny because, in my opinion, traditional marketing is exhausting because you're trying to find strangers, you're trying to interrupt them and say, look at me, and nobody wants that. But with relationships, and I think this is the piece everybody misses. Bob Berg talks all day long about building authentic relationships because people do business with people they know, like, and trust. Mm-hmm. Most people miss the business aspect of the relationship. And it is funny because introverts tend to make the best and the worst salespeople because we ask better questions, we're curious, and we listen for the answer. Now, some of us can go to the other side and be too compassionate and get to know the human, but I don't know another way to do business. If I don't build authentic relationships, I don't do business for the sake of a sale. It's because I actually like the person and I want to work with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, I would say, especially if you sell a service, right, that involves your time, your presence, that's when you truly realize how important the human connection is. Because then if it's the misaligned client that just wants you to help him, her make money, but actually like they behave like douchebags and so on, like then it just becomes pain to work with them, and you regret it, and you say, well, did I just accept to work with someone like this just for some money? Like, did I really need that amount of money? And also because then you occupy your time and you might close some opportunities to then work actually with the right people. So I always find that saying no to the wrong people, even though they sound like opportunities, has to be a key part of our lives. We need to say no more often to what is not aligned, what doesn't feel instinctively good.
I love it. Now, Giorgio, I could talk to you all day, but I also want to be mindful of your time. Where can people go to learn more, connect with you? I'm going to say LinkedIn feels obvious, but is that the best place?
That is the best place. LinkedIn, I think the @ is basically like my name and surname. But I don't do other social medias. In fact, I don't like other social media. I have a YouTube channel in which I actually upload my LinkedIn lives, because I do love having conversation, and I could speak to you, Jeff, for hours. And I do have a feeling that I would like to speak to you for sure in the upcoming weeks. So we'll make that happen. But
Yes.
yeah, LinkedIn is the place to connect with me, and to just have conversation. Because at the end of the day, I do believe in relationships, and I like to protect my time. But I think that these times in which we connect with like-minded people, then these are the real gold that can be found on LinkedIn.
These are the moments that make it worthwhile. So, Giorgio, I want to thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure right from the get-go when Mandy connected us. And I just want to thank you for taking time out of your late evening to come and hang out with me. So thank you.
Thank you, Jeff, for hosting me. To be honest, like I don't really feel like I did much. You hosted me, and we had a great conversation. Now this is just a natural evolution of that great conversation, and I'm looking forward to keep in touch. And thank you, everyone, for listening, guys. Jeff is a powerhouse, super fun. Just shout out to the Lighthouse Sessions. And keep this going. It's beautiful. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you.